So thanks, Simon and Roberto, for hosting us, and Claire and Andrew for coming here, and we're all interested in hearing about it. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Okay, thanks. Very handily placed piece of equipment there. Obviously not designed for me, I know. Hi, thank you for coming along. Thank you, iZettle, for inviting us. It's the first time I've been here today. It's amazing. And actually, when I did a bit of research before we came here, all the things on the 7 points, how to beat the chains, these guys nailed it on all 7 points. I'm really pleased about that, actually. Just a quick introduction. My name is Andrew Bowen. I'm one half of the Coffeepreneurs. We are coffee shop consultants, although we don't like to be called consultants. We prefer to be called coffee shop specialists. We work with independents to start up, to scale up, improve profitability, and eventually to sell their businesses as well. So we work in the UK and we work internationally. Our articles are translated into Chinese, and we're on Italian websites and loads of stuff. So we also do a few talks at the London Coffee Festival and hospitality shows and stuff like that as well. So if you don't know anything about us, we wrote this book about 2 years ago. It's now an international bestseller, and again, it sells all over the world. Cool. The other thing we do, just before I get started, is we run what's called the Coffee Shop Bootcamp for new independent coffee shop owners. It's a 2-day intensive course for everything you need to know how to run a coffee shop, specifically for independents. The next one's in San Remo, in Hackney, in 2 weeks' time. So this afternoon I'm going to talk to you about the 7 things I think that you need to beat the chains, because no matter where you are, the chains are following you. So even if you open in the middle of a country lane somewhere, you can guarantee if you're successful, then the chains will follow you. So you will come up against the chains. You know, this is a unique area really in London where there is lots and lots of independent coffee shops, and it's almost more independent than it is a chain area. It's almost kicked the chains out. There's so many independents around. But typically, if you're thinking of opening a coffee shop, then you will have competition open up against you. It's quite a sobering thought, actually, when you've built your business and you're perhaps your first mover, you're the first person in the high street, you're doing really well, and then 2 doors up the road you get Nero, and you get that sinking feeling in your heart. But there's a lot of things, there's a lot of opportunity out there to beat the chains. We've been in that position, actually, ourselves, where a Nero opened against us, and it was really horrible, in truth, for the first things. But so the first thing I'm going to talk about, really, is the basics. So out of the 7 things that you need to get right is the basics. So the first thing you need to make sure is your place is clean and tidy. Hygienic. That's the number 1 reason why people won't come back. So they might like it from the outside, they might come in, but if you're not clean, if you're not hygienic, if your staff aren't well groomed and wholesome, then there's something, or the toilets are a bit grubby, they're not going to come back. It's the number 1 reason why people say they don't go back to an independent coffee shop. So you need to get that right. You need good signage. The number of coffee shops that we visit, and they've got really tiny font on wood with fretwood signs. So from about 100 meters away, you can't see what it is. You've got no idea what it looks like. And actually, when you get closer, you've still got no idea. So you really need good signage. That's really a basic you need to achieve. You need sort of that brand comfort. So the reason you buy Coca-Cola when you go abroad and you don't recognize anything on the menu. So it's the same thing. So when you look through the door of your coffee shop, you've got to make sure it's inviting, so you feel safe. So that first, getting the customer into an independent for the very first time is the hardest thing. So people got to know what they're going to get when they come in. So they know that it is a coffee shop and they're going to get some really nice, wholesome food. And those are the things you've got to make sure that you get right from when you open the door. In here, people know where to stand when they come in. You come in through the front door and there's the till, and you order, you've got your counter, and then your coffee's made and you walk. So you're not making them, you've got so many places and you walk in and you just don't know where to go, where to stand, what to do, where do I order, do I go to the table, do I stand here, do I stand there, where's the queue? So those sort of things, just little irritating things. If you don't get those right in the design, then you're on a hiding to nothing. You need to get the temperature right. Is it too hot? Is it too cold? If it's too hot, they're going to go away. If it's too cold, they're going to go away. If it's too humid, it's going to smell horrible. And just walking past some of the pubs and restaurants on the way here, you can smell. You can smell whether it's going to be a nice place to walk in. And there's a few pubs I walk past. I wouldn't even go in there. It's just a horrible smell of staleness. So that, inviting aroma of coffee is what you need to look at, rather than, if you're going to be doing fried food and stuff, you need to be aware that that will have an impact on the smell and the environment. So, you need to get that right. And then finally, the noise and the space and the colours and all that sort of stuff, you need to think about, will it match up with your customer? So what does your customer expect to do when they come in? Do they expect to work on their laptop? Do they expect to have a meeting with a client? Do they expect just to chill out? Does it match up with what you're trying to do? So getting those things right is quite important as well in the design stage at the very beginning. The second issue you need to get right, and the way to beat the change, is when we call it the independent trap. So what I mean by that is a lot of people that start up an independent coffee shop will start up because they've been in a corporate environment, and they're a bit fed up with the rules and the regulations, and they want to get away from all that. So when they start up their coffee shop, I think it's quite informal, and it's quite nice, and we want to have rules, and we want to have I'll just be nice to the staff and be nice to the customers, and there won't be any rules. So it becomes a bit of a mess. People actually like working with rules of some description, whether it's a recipe. One of the things we see so often with independents is that you get the cult of barista. So you got one barista that does it fantastically well, and the customers get to know that, so they'll come in. If they see him or her stand at the machine as they're walking past, they'll come in. But because barista B isn't quite as well trained, or makes it slightly differently, or thinks they're doing you a favour by putting some extra, putting 3 shots in instead of 2, or tamping it too hard, or over extracting it because they like it like that, and because people get to know. So you've got to have that consistency. You've got to have the rules. And if you don't get the recipes right, you're not going to make the margins either. So in terms of pure financial margins, unless you get those things right time and time again, you're never going to meet your margins. You're not being able to replicate it. You're not going to be able to open a second shop successfully because that stuff isn't there. So you might as well do it, from day one, rather than just wait for it all to happen and let your baristas take control of it for you, because you need to do it yourself. In terms of service, again, you need to do this exercise I recommend you do this exercise. So ask the person on the till, what their job is. And then while they're writing down what they think their job is, you write down what you think their job is. When you bring those 2 bits of paper together, I guarantee you'll see 2 different things, because you as the owner will be there thinking, well, I want them to smile, greet the customer, I want them to know where they've been on holiday, I want them to talk to their dog, I want them to play coochie-coo with their kids, I want them to upsell, I want them to suggest something really nice to eat with their drink, all that sort of stuff. But the person on the till is probably thinking, well, actually, I've got to take the money, and perhaps get the order right. So it's about getting that sort of vision, your vision of what the job is, and when you're on the duty as the owner, as the founder of the business, you've got to get that over to you guys and make sure they're really clear. So that's just another rule. And then, of course, it's about love. So as an independent, you have got more and more opportunity. You've got the best opportunity in the world to impress your customers, and you can do it so much better than the chains, because the chains, it's plastic and it's formulaic, so you can show your customers so much more love as an independent, and the chains cannot come anywhere close to beating that. The next important thing, the next one of the 7 is uniqueness. So you've got the opportunity to do what you want. You can be quirky, and the market's moving so fast. I've never, it's a really, really beetroot latte is the latest one. I don't know what it was last year. I don't even know what it was last week, but I know today is beetroot latte, and I don't know what tomorrow is. But the great thing about the independent is you can, do it. You don't have to go through a chain. You don't have to go through the sort of corporate clutter and treacle of getting it signed off by 15 different suppliers, and what sort of latte should we get, and what sort of milk should we use it with, and just do it. So you can just launch it today and be really quick and unique. And that's a big opportunity for independents to go on. Often we see guys, because they get the process right, they don't innovate. So they get, they've got the same thing, and customers get bored. So you've got to innovate. You've got to do something new pretty much every week, every month. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But at least your customers are getting a chance to try something. You've got something to talk about. You've got something to, you've got something to be Instagrammed. You've got something to get people to to communicate with, and all that sort of stuff. So it's really important there. We talked a little bit about service. We talked about the plus ones. So, give you guys the opportunity to give them the authority to do things to wow the customer. It only needs to be plus one. So, if you get good service and you get good service plus one. So whether it be, an extra smile or an extra carrot at the table, or, just trying to anticipate what that customer wants. It's really hard when you're in the corporate environment for these big chains to deliver that, because they're all about microseconds on the till. They're all about, mystery shoppers. They're all about that. And the staff just generally get, worried and stressed over it all. And they forget their key job is to serve the customer. So as an independent, that plus one ethos is like really important. And have talking points. So we talked about the innovation, but have some hero products. So everything you should have a story. Every single thing. If you can remember back to that TV advert for Marks and Spencer's, it's not just any old chocolate pudding, but it's Marks and Spencer's chocolate pudding. Do you remember that one? Probably you're too young in the room, but actually, you look it up. But it's a massive way of just selling a product with extra, so you can charge more if things feel better. If things feel as if they should cost more, you can charge more. So if you've got a story, if there's a history of something, these guys here have just got a phenomenal story. That if you talk to them later, if you have a look at their website, but what you see around you is there's talking points here. Why is it called Chairs and Coffees? Well, simply you wanted it to give an identity, get people to talk about. So this is a place you go where there's chairs on the wall, and the coffees. These guys know coffee. They roast coffee in there, so there's a story about the place. So give people something to talk about. I know if I was to come here, it's for the first time, it would definitely be, on my social media timeline. Undoubtedly, I'll be talking to people about it as well. The next one is about your location. So as an independent, you've got the biggest opportunity to own the location. And what I mean by that is that everyone locally would love to support you. You just got to tell them what you're about. So, whether it be the gym, or whether, you do a deal with the local gym, if they're your customers, or do a deal with a do some charity work, or do some environmentally local, litter pick or something like that. But you can be the hero locally. You can be the people that, and the vision really is when somebody goes to the clothes shop across the road, or to the hairdressers in particular, they say, where's the best place? I'm new around here. Where's the best place to get a coffee? You want those guys to say, well, there's only one place, and it's, if you're here in London, if you're in this part, you've got to come to, Chairs and Coffee. That's the place to go. But you've got to go out and talk to those people in the hairdressers. There's nothing like a free cookie, or a free coffee, or a free hot chocolate, or a free something to these guys to get you front of mind, and then that makes a massive difference. Taxis is another one. Local radio. Local newspaper, you can become the local star, because is there any journalists in the room? But the journalists are really struggling to get stories and info, and if you can become their friend, there's an article on the news about coffee, or coffee shops, or sustainability, or recycling. Then they can call you. What do you think about it? Can you give me a comment? Just get ready to talk to them, and then you can suggest advertorials in newspapers, which cost nothing. And that's another really good way of owning it. And, getting seen. I would never say pay for press advertising, in truth, because it's just not worth it. But using advertorial gets your name out there as well, so you can become the real expert. And be on the radio. We've been on the radio loads of times just because of it. We've tweeted we've heard something on the radio. We knew they were doing a show outside the shop, so we tweeted them. And 58 times, and eventually, they came in and gave them free coffee, and then we ended up on the radio, and it just all builds, and it's all good stuff, and it's free. Now, the next one is, of course, social media, where you can beat the chains. So the big chains struggle with social media. In fact, Wetherspoon's just turned it off, haven't they? Because they can't cope with the impersonality of it. But it's personal when it's local. It's very personal. So number one, people. Locals are less likely to slag you off on social media, and if you do, because you're there on all the time, you can just react to it really quickly. Same with TripAdvisor, same with Google+. You can react to it really quickly. You can own it in a way that the chains can only dream of. You know, you've got, and actually sharing that burden of social media with other people in the shop is something really good. Just shouldn't just be the owner doing it. It should be everyone. You know, you should trust everyone with the access, with the keys to your social media, and give them the authority to respond and reply for you. And it suddenly becomes their voice rather than your voice. And it's quicker and it's quirkier, and as now we've had some tremendous success with that in the past. So, you know, just don't be afraid. It's just got to be you as the owner or the manager in the shop. You know, it can be more than that. And actually, you know, you can control it again with some rules. This is what you're allowed to post, and this is what you're not allowed to post. With common sense, then, you know, it works really well. But you can, you know, in an amazing way, you can own social media compared to the chains, and you can beat them hands down with it. The other thing you can do is testimonials. So, is there anybody in the room who hasn't got a video camera in their pocket? No? Nobody. So we've all got video cameras. So when somebody comes to the counter and says you've got the best coffee or the best breakfast or the best brunch or the best coffee, anything, just say, oh, do you mind repeating that to my phone? Just a second. Just take it. And then you've got a testimonial forever. You stick on your YouTube channel, social media, on your website. It's just third-party endorsement. You can build up a phenomenal sort of, again, bank of people telling people how good you are. That is not, you know, not you telling people how good they are. And that links to the sort of Google business page and the TripAdvisor and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, you guys, I know, respond to all your TripAdvisor and you've set up your Google Plus page. But we did some research for a company trying to get, for Green Redeem actually, who work with coffee shops and restaurants to incentivize green actions. And we researched over 1,500 coffee shops and cafes in London. And some of the websites were amazing. Some were amazing. You almost so good you actually want to drop everything and just drive to that coffee shop or cafe and eat or drink. Some of them were almost like an advert for don't bother coming to me because they were awful. Stock pictures, you know, just didn't work on your phone, took ages to load, all that sort of stuff. But the most, you know, the startling thing was 54% of coffee shops and cafes in London didn't have a website. So if you haven't got your own website, you're not in control of your own social, you're not in your own online presence, you know, because your website anchors all that together. So your social media comes into your website, your Google Plus, your TripAdvisor, all links in together. And if you haven't got a website, and they're not expensive, then, you know, you're not in control. So that, you know, the message is to, and Google Plus actually, the Google business page, all those things. I know nobody goes on Google really. Very few people use Google as a way to, you know, on purpose. Might go to TripAdvisor to find out where somewhere nice is to go. But in reality, Google control all that. So if you get your Google listing right, and you take control of that Google business page and link everything to it, give them the info, give them the post, give them the pictures, then you appear on Google on the side, or you appear on the top of the page. You know, when you Google best coffee shop in Clapham, best coffee shop in Fulham, you come up. And that's, you know, because you've got a good website, you do all your TripAdvisor stuff, you've got your Google Plus page all sorted out, you know, and it's you've got your story on your website, all links, it's all done nicely, displays nicely on your phone, it's nice and fast, all those simple things, but it helps you be found. Because you're only going to be found three ways, you know, as independent. You're going to be found by people walking past, by word of mouth, or by, you know, the internet. So, you know, people walking past, it's got to look nice. It's got to look good. Word of mouth, you know, you've got something for people to talk to you about. You know, on the internet, you've got to have a good Google listing, you know, whether it be Yelp. And there's so, you know, you can spend ages and ages and ages on it. You know, you don't need to spend tons of time on it. You just need to get the basics right, and then just maintain the TripAdvisor, the Google Plus page as you go along. But importantly, with the social media stuff, obviously Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, it's all changing. And all they want to do is get money off you as a business owner. So on Facebook now, only probably less than 2%. If you've got 1,000 people like your Facebook page, less than 2% will see an organic post when you post up there. It's a great morning in Fulham. Less than 2% Facebook will show less than 2% because they want you as a business owner to advertise. So you need to get, once you've got people to like you on these platforms, because they're so transient, you need to get your customers details off there. You need to get a process of getting their email addresses, their names, and their telephone number if necessary, off there. Because without that, you're totally beholden to the social media giants, and ultimately you will have to just pay to get your name out there. The last one is about the metrics. There's no point in doing all this unless you get your metrics right. So unless you get your rent right, unless you get your rates right, unless you get the right level of staff in cover, right, and you're not overpaying for the wages, so you haven't got people in the wrong place at the wrong time. You got people that got efficient methods of working, so you keep your wage percent low, or as low as it needs to be to make right. You're never gonna make any money. So you can do all that stuff I've talked about, but unless you get the basics right, we see so many people that take over a site. It's great, fantastic site, but it's too small or the rent's too high. And no matter what they do, they might have the best business in the world. It might be full from 9 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock at night, but physically there's not enough people in there, enough covers turning over to generate enough cash to pay the rates, the lights, the business rates, the rent, the maintenance contract, the staff holidays, the pension, all those other things, VAT, all those things that people forget. So you've got to get those metrics right. So before you start on this journey, you can only beat the change if you actually get those metrics right in the first place. So really understand what is the level of rent you're prepared to pay for a place. Otherwise, all you'd be doing is working for the landlord, not working for yourself. As simple as that. Technology is another important one as well. So we are here with iZettle, but never before in the field of human conflict has there been an opportunity for small businesses to have the back office and the technological sort of advantages that the corporates had 10 years ago. The back office facilities like iZettle give you some of the procurement guys that we work with give you is phenomenal. So as a small business, you can really have an advantage in technology as well. So harnessing that correctly will and using virtual assistants, you need people to do stuff. You don't have to employ. There's loads of online resources you can use for design or for help with payroll and stuff like that. So you don't have to employ people to do all that. A lot of that stuff you can do online now. But finally, the last one really, that brings all this together, is about the biggest advantage that the independent has over the chains is their story. That's the biggest number one. That's the thing that everyone loves. The story. When they come into a place, they're just desperate to find out what's your name, what you do, how long you've been here. I've been listening to people, your questions. You come in, talking to Roberto and Simone around, how long you've been here and what you've done and where do you start. It's that story. It's that little, the chains can't give you that story. But if you don't tell it in the proper way, so that all your team know what your story is, it is not consistent, then there's no point in having it. So you need to be really clear what your story is, so that when people start with you the very first time, they know this is a story. They know where your coffee comes from. They know, how that cake is made, or what the difference is, what makes that a fantastic cake as opposed to a cheap cake. Why it's got to be 20p more, because it is this. It comes from here. They roast on site. There's no one else in this district that roasts coffee in their coffee shop. It's just a massive, but how they do it, but it's not just the coffee, it's where they got it from. They got relationship with suppliers, unique relationship with suppliers. There's so many unique things about this business that, they've got a lot. It's really, really good. It's a great place to come for me to do this talk, because, a lot of the stuff I'm talking to Roberto and Simone about their journey over the last, 5 years, is it? You said? You've been here, the tweaks, the changes, how they've had to move the counters around and change the menus, and it's an ongoing thing. It's not something you just open and just leave it to, and that's how you beat the change. So in summary, you've got to get the basics right. You've got to get consistency and quality right, uniqueness. You've got to own your location, sort out your social media, make sure your metrics right, and make sure you can tell that story really well. Okay, so that's it. In summary, if you've got any questions, we'll be here. But I thought what we do now is to talk to Robert and Simone around you know, if there's anything there you can say was really struck home, yeah?
Yeah, well, first of all, I agree with everything that you said. We had an amazing talk, so good for that. And I mean, we're very happy for it. One more thing I want to add, and this comes from our personal experience, is one of the ways that we compete with coffee chains is we literally advertise ourselves as an independent business, because we notice that this is what people are looking for. Now there's this trend of people looking for independent businesses. There are more people that want to open their coffee shops as well. So what we do literally every day when we post our social media posts, we literally use the hashtag independent business, local community, all of that. We noticed that we had a great, amazing engagement using this kind of hashtags, because people are looking into this. That's the future, pretty much. Many big companies, many big corporates are closing down or are struggling now because of independent coffee shops, which is good for us, obviously. And that's one of the things that we do. One other thing that we can do quicker than the big companies is we can follow the trend. We has been lucky enough to be in London. We are this city, which is, in my opinion, the capital of the trends. Whatever happens around the world, in my opinion, happens in London first. So whenever we see that something can work, what we can do is from the same day we can go for it, give it a try. As you said before, you mentioned the beetroot latte. We didn't try here, but let's say that I guess the beetroot latte could be a good thing to try. We can do it from tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, we just do it, advertise it.
Yeah.
It's on. You know, if it doesn't work, we can remove it. Company like Starbucks, if they want to do a beetroot latte, they have to do a big consultancies with a lot of things, you know, marketing and all of that. Do the branding, do train all the country, all the staff, and all of that, which is a lot of waste of money if it doesn't work, you know. So that's a good thing in our favor, you know. We can start straight away with any ideas that comes out in our mind, you know. And apart from this, I would say that you said everything. So I agree with everything that you said.